Welcome, the anointed ones. Listen very carefully, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just spiritual tea. It's a documented pattern that has consequences so severe, even practitioners warn each other about it. When someone sends negative energy, hexes, curses, or any form of spiritual attack toward a chosen one, they don't just fail at harming you. They activate a boomerang effect so catastrophic that their entire bloodline can feel the repercussions. This isn't folklore. This isn't exaggeration. This is what happens when ordinary people try to use extraordinary forces against someone who was never meant to be touched. Here's the reality that practitioners themselves whisper about in closed circles. There are certain individuals walking this earth who carry a spiritual seal so powerful that attempting to curse them is like trying to punch a mirror. The impact doesn't just bounce back. It shatters the sender's reality into fragments they'll spend years trying to piece back together. You are one of those individuals. And if you've been feeling a strange shift lately, if you've noticed that the people who plotted against you are suddenly experiencing unexplainable setbacks, collapsing relationships, health issues that doctors can't diagnose, or a string of misfortune that seems almost poetic in its timing, well, chosen one, that's not coincidence. That's cosmic justice, executing itself without you lifting a single finger. The universe has a very specific protocol for protecting its chosen vassals. And the penalty for violating that protocol isn't a warning. It's a complete, systematic dismantling of everything the attacker built, thought they had, or hoped to achieve. They thought they were sending darkness your way. Instead, they invited it into their own home and locked the door behind it. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on exactly why someone's life became permanently cursed the moment they decided to practice witchcraft on you. We're talking about the spiritual laws they violated, the protection codes they triggered, and the irreversible consequences they're living with right now. And trust me, by the end of this message, you'll understand why certain people are watching their lives crumble in real time, and why no amount of cleansing, rituals, or desperate prayers can undo what they set in motion when they targeted you. Number 1. Your energy signature is flagged in realms they don't have clearance to access. Before you were even born, before your first breath touched this world, your energy was coded, sealed, and marked with a frequency that operates on a level most people will never reach in their lifetime. This isn't about ego. This isn't about being better than anyone. This is about spiritual jurisdiction, and you exist under a jurisdiction that has gatekeepers, protocols, and consequences for unauthorized access. Think of it like this. There are levels of spiritual authority, almost like security clearance in classified government operations. Most people operate on level 1 or 2. They go through life, they pray, they hope, they try to manipulate outcomes through basic rituals or manifestation techniques. And that's fine for them. But you, chosen one, you're operating on level 8, 9, maybe even 10. And the gap between those levels isn't just distance. It's protected by forces that don't negotiate. When someone at level 1 or 2 tries to send negative energy, hexes, or any form of spiritual warfare towards someone at your level, they're essentially hacking into a system they don't have the password for. And spiritual systems don't just deny access, they trace the source and respond with force. The moment their energy tried to reach you, it hit a barrier they didn't even know existed. That barrier didn't just block their attack, it reflected it back with amplification, with compounded interest, with the full weight of every protective force assigned to you. And here's the part that makes this truly devastating for them. The reflection doesn't just hit them once. It keeps cycling. Every time they think they've recovered, every time they try to rebuild, the consequence loop activates again, because the original violation is still logged in the system. You didn't create this protection, you inherited it. It's woven into your spiritual DNA, assigned before your arrival and maintained by forces that have been watching your lineage for generations. The people who tried to curse you had no idea they were dealing with someone whose existence is monitored, guarded, and backed by a cosmic response team that doesn't play games. They thought they were attacking a regular person. Instead, they attacked a protected frequency, and the response was immediate, calculated, and absolutely merciless. Their lives started falling apart in ways that looked random to outsiders, but felt eerily specific to them. Jobs disappeared right when they needed them most. Relationships that seemed solid imploded overnight. Health issues surfaced without warning. Financial stability evaporated like it was never there. And through it all, they kept asking themselves the same haunting question. What did I do to deserve this? But deep down, in the part of themselves they don't want to acknowledge, they know exactly what they did. They know the moment everything shifted. They remember the night they sat down with candles, photos, personal items, and malicious intent. They remember the ritual, the words, the energy they poured into trying to destroy someone who never deserved their hatred, and now they're living in the aftermath of a spiritual violation they can never take back. Because when you target a chosen one, you don't just fail. You forfeit. You forfeit peace, stability, protection, and access to the very blessings you were trying to steal from someone else. The universe doesn't debate. It doesn't give second chances when it comes to this level of violation. It simply executes the consequence, and the consequence is permanent. Number 2, they violated a spiritual law older than recorded history, and the penalty is automatic. There are universal laws that govern this existence, and most people go their entire lives without even knowing they exist. These aren't religious rules, these aren't cultural guidelines, these are fundamental codes woven into the fabric of reality itself. And one of the oldest, most absolute laws is this: you do not touch the anointed. You do not harm the chosen. You do not interfere with someone whose path is being orchestrated by forces beyond human comprehension. The penalty for breaking this law isn't handed down by a judge or a council. It's automatic, like stepping on a landmine. The moment the violation occurs, the response is triggered, and there's no appeals process. When someone performed witchcraft, sent curses, or directed malicious energy toward you, they didn't just break a spiritual guideline. They violated one of the core laws that hold the universe together. And the universe responded the same way a body's immune system responds to a virus. It identified the threat, isolated it, and began the process of elimination. This process doesn't care about intention. It doesn't care if they were jealous, hurt, desperate, or manipulated by someone else. The law doesn't have empathy. It has enforcement, and the enforcement is relentless. What makes this particularly devastating for them is that the penalty isn't delivered all at once. It's dispersed over time, strategically designed to dismantle every area of their life that gave them power, comfort, or control. Their career that once brought them status and income starts betraying them. Opportunities vanish, colleagues turn against them. Projects fail despite their best efforts. Their relationships, the people they thought would always be there, start seeing them differently. Trust erodes. Communication breaks down. Connections sever for reasons that don't even make sense. Their health, the foundation they relied on to keep pushing forward, begins to falter. Not always in dramatic ways, sometimes it's subtle. Chronic fatigue that won't go away. Mysterious pains that doctors can't explain. Mental fog that makes it impossible to think clearly. And through all of this, they feel a weight they can't shake, a heaviness that follows them everywhere, a sense that something is fundamentally wrong with their existence now. That weight is the consequence executing itself. It's the spiritual law collecting what's owed. And the most terrifying part for them is that they can't stop it. They can go to different practitioners, different priests, different healers. They can perform cleansing rituals, burn sage, take spiritual baths, recite prayers. They can beg for forgiveness, promise to change, swear they'll never do it again. But the law doesn't care about promises. The law cares about violation, and the violation was recorded the moment they acted on their malicious intent toward you. The curse they tried to place on you became the curse they now carry, except it's amplified, personalized, and inescapable. Number 3, every ounce of negativity they sent your way is now consuming them from the inside out. Energy doesn't disappear. It transfers, transforms, redirects, but it never just vanishes into nothing. When someone sends malicious energy toward another person, that energy has to go somewhere. And when that person is protected the way you are, the energy doesn't just stop at the barrier and dissolve. It bounces back with multiplied force, carrying all the dark intention, all the bitterness, all the hatred they poured into it, and it crashes back into their reality like a tidal wave they never saw coming. This is the boomerang effect, and it's one of the most documented phenomena in spiritual practice across every culture and tradition. What they don't tell you in beginner witchcraft books, what gets left out of social media tutorials, what practitioners only whisper about in private, is this: when you curse a chosen one, the curse doesn't just fail, it inverts. Everything they wished upon you, every nightmare they tried to manifest for you, every painful scenario they visualized happening to you is now their lived reality. They wanted you to lose your peace. Now they can't sleep through the night. They wanted you to lose your relationships. Now their closest connections are crumbling. They wanted you to struggle financially. Now money runs through their hands like water, and nothing they touch prospers. They wanted you isolated, confused and broken. Now they're the ones sitting alone, questioning everything, unable to understand why their life suddenly feels like it's working against them. They worked then. And here's what makes this so poetically devastating. The universe doesn't just return the curse with equal measure, it amplifies it based on the level of intention behind it. If they casually wished bad things on you, the consequence is uncomfortable but manageable. But if they sat down, gathered tools, spoke incantations, visualized your downfall, and poured genuine malice and hatred into their work, then the amplification is severe. They essentially weaponized their own energy against themselves. They loaded the gun, pulled the trigger, and wondered why they're the ones bleeding. Their own hatred became the poison they're now forced to drink every single day. Their own darkness became the shadow that follows them everywhere. Their own curse became the cage they can't escape. You've probably noticed this if you've been paying attention. The person who tried to harm you spiritually, their life has taken a nosedive that's hard to ignore. Things that used to come easy for them now feel impossible. People who used to respect them now avoid them. Opportunities they used to attract now pass them by. And they can feel it. They can feel the shift. They can feel the weight. They wake up tired. They go to bed anxious. They move through their day with a sense of impending doom they can't explain to anyone, because how do you tell someone that you cursed yourself by trying to curse someone else? How do you admit that you violated a spiritual law and now you're living in the fallout? They can't. So they suffer in silence, watching you thrive, watching you glow, watching you move forward with ease while they feel like they're trudging through quicksand. And every time they see you succeeding, every time they hear about something good happening in your life, it's a reminder of what they lost when they decided to come after you. The curse they carry now isn't just magical, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's existential. They cursed their own peace, their own potential, their own future. And the worst part is they did it to themselves. You didn't have to do anything. The universe handled it. The protection around you handled it. And now they're living proof of what happens when you try to touch the untouchable. Number 4, their spiritual doors are now permanently jammed and blessings can no longer enter. When someone engages in witchcraft against a chosen one, they don't just trigger a consequence, they fundamentally alter their spiritual standing. Think of your spiritual life as a house with doors. One door lets in blessings, favor, opportunities, grace, and positive energy. Another door lets out negativity, hardship, and challenges. In a healthy spiritual state, both doors function properly. Good comes in, bad goes out, and life has a natural flow to it. But when they attacked you, when they violated that sacred law, something catastrophic happened to their spiritual house. The door that allows blessings in got jammed shut, and the door that lets negativity out broke wide open and now swings freely. Now imagine living like that. Imagine waking up every day in a reality where no matter how hard you work, no matter how much effort you put in, no matter how many affirmations you recite or rituals you perform, nothing good sticks. Opportunities appear on the horizon, but by the time you reach them, they've vanished. People promise to help you, but they always back out at the last minute. Projects that should succeed inexplicably fail. The relationships that should deepen suddenly go cold. And all the while, problems keep piling up. Financial issues, health scares, legal troubles, family drama, and there's no relief. There's no break. There's no moment of ease. That's the reality they're living in now. And the most haunting part is they can sense that something fundamental has shifted, but they don't have the spiritual literacy to understand what's actually happening. They'll try to fix it. Oh, they'll try everything. They'll go to different spiritual workers, hoping someone can reverse what they did. They'll pay for expensive cleansings, for ritual work, for prayers and ceremonies. They'll burn candles, take baths with herbs, wear protective amulets, carry crystals, recite scripture. They'll beg the universe, plead with higher powers, promise to be better, swear they've learned their lesson. But nothing works, nothing sticks, nothing changes. Because you can't cleanse a violation. You can't pray away a spiritual law that's been broken. You can't ritual your way out of a consequence that was triggered by your own actions. The door is jammed. And no amount of knocking, pushing, or begging is going to force it open again. Meanwhile, you're over here flourishing. You're experiencing synchronicities, unexpected blessings, doors opening that you didn't even know existed. People are drawn to you, opportunities find you. Your intuition is sharper than ever. Your energy is lighter, your path is clearer. And it's not just because you're protected. It's because their attack actually elevated you. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, took the energy they sent your way and converted it into fuel for your ascension. While they're stuck in a loop of stagnation and decline, you're rising higher and moving faster than you ever have before. Their curse became your catalyst. Their hatred became your upgrade. Their attempt to destroy you became the exact thing that propelled you into your next level of greatness. And somewhere deep in their subconscious, they know this. They know that trying to harm you was the worst decision they ever made. They know that their life started falling apart right after they targeted you. They know that while they're drowning, you're soaring. And that knowledge eats at them every single day. Because they don't just have to live with the consequences, they have to watch you thrive in spite of everything they tried to do to you. They have to witness your success while they're struggling to survive. And there's no escaping that reality. There's no closing their eyes and pretending it's not happening. Every day is a reminder that they made an enemy of the universe when they made an enemy of you. Number 5. They triggered a bloodline consequence that their children and grandchildren will feel. This is where it gets truly heavy, and I want you to understand the gravity of what happens when someone performs witchcraft against a chosen one. The consequence doesn't stop with them. It doesn't end when they learn their lesson or when they finally understand the magnitude of what they've done. No, when you violate a spiritual law of this magnitude, when you attack someone under the kind of protection you carry, the consequence extends beyond your individual life. It touches your lineage. It affects your bloodline. It creates a pattern of struggle that your descendants will inherit unless they have the spiritual awareness to break it, which most of them won't even know they need to do. This isn't about punishing innocent people. This is about how spiritual energy works. When someone at their level of consciousness performs dark work against someone at your level, they create a tear in their own spiritual fabric. That tear doesn't heal on its own. It remains open, and it becomes a portal for ongoing hardship, lack, and misfortune to flow through. And because bloodlines are spiritually connected, that open wound affects everyone who shares their blood. There are spiritual windows. Their children will grow up feeling like they have to work twice as hard for half the results. Their grandchildren will wonder why opportunities that seem to come easy for others feel impossible for them. Future generations will carry a heaviness they can't explain, a sense that something in their family line is broken, blocked, or cursed. And they'll be right. The person who attacked you essentially gambled with their entire lineage and lost. They sacrificed their family's spiritual inheritance for a moment of jealousy, hatred, or revenge, and now the debt is being passed down. This is why practitioners who actually know what they're doing refuse to curse certain people. It's not about morality, it's about self-preservation. It's about understanding that some battles aren't worth fighting because the cost is too high. The person who came after you didn't have that wisdom. They didn't have that knowledge. They operated from ego, emotion, and ignorance. And now their family tree will bear the consequences of that ignorance for generations. You might think this sounds harsh. You might wonder if it's fair that their children and grandchildren have to suffer for something they didn't do. But this isn't about fairness. This is about spiritual law. This is about cause and effect on a cosmic scale. When you throw a stone into water, the ripples don't stop at the point of impact. They spread outward, touching everything in their path. When you violate a spiritual law, the ripples of that violation spread through your bloodline, touching everyone connected to you. That's not punishment. That's physics. That's how energy works. And the person who attacked you didn't just throw a stone. They threw a boulder. And now everyone connected to them is living in the ripple effect. But here's what you need to understand about your role in all of this. You didn't cause this. You didn't ask for this. You didn't curse their family. They did that to themselves when they decided to come after you. Your only role was existing, being who you are, walking in your purpose, and carrying the protection that was assigned to you before you were even born. Everything that's happening to them now is a consequence of their own actions, their own choices, their own spiritual ignorance. The universe is simply enforcing its laws. And you, chosen one, you're just living your life, protected, elevated, and untouchable. Number 6. Every ritual they perform to reverse the curse only makes it worse. Desperation does strange things to people. When the person who attacked you started noticing the consequences, when their life started falling apart in ways that felt too specific to be random, they didn't sit back and accept it. No, they did what everyone does when they realize they've made a catastrophic mistake. They tried to fix it. They went looking for solutions, for reversals, for ways to undo what they'd done. They reached out to other practitioners, explained their situation in vague terms, and asked for help removing a curse. What they didn't tell those practitioners is that the curse wasn't placed on them by someone else. It's the consequence of their own actions, and that detail matters more than they realize. When a spiritual worker performs a reversal ritual without knowing the full story, when they try to remove a curse that's actually a consequence, they're essentially fighting against universal law. And universal law doesn't lose. What ends up happening is the ritual energy bumps up against the consequence energy, realizes it can't move it, and bounces back onto the practitioner who's trying to help. Now you've got two people affected by the consequence instead of one. But more importantly, every time they try to reverse what's happening to them, every time they perform a cleansing or a ritual or a prayer intended to remove the curse, they're actually reinforcing it. They're reminding the universe of the violation. They're drawing more attention to what they did. And the universe responds by tightening the consequence, by making it more present, more undeniable, more inescapable. It's like trying to escape quicksand by thrashing around. The more you move, the faster you sink. The more they try to fix this through spiritual work, the deeper they fall into the consequence. And the truly tragic part is they don't understand what's happening. They think they're just experiencing a string of bad luck, or that someone else has cursed them, or that they need to find a more powerful practitioner to break whatever's holding them down. They don't realize that the thing holding them down is the law itself, and there's no practitioner alive powerful enough to break a universal law. There's no ritual strong enough to override cosmic justice. There's no prayer that can undo a consequence that was triggered by their own malicious actions. You don't have to worry about them finding a way to reverse this. You don't have to stress about them getting free and coming after you again. That's not possible, not because you're actively holding them down, but because they're held down by their own violation. They built their own prison when they decided to attack you, and every attempt to escape only adds another lock to the door. They're trapped in a cycle of their own creation, and the only way out is through acceptance, genuine repentance, and a complete transformation of consciousness. And even then, even if they reach that level of self-awareness and spiritual maturity, the consequence might not fully lift. It might lighten, it might become more manageable, but the scar remains. The spiritual record of what they did doesn't get erased. It stays with them as a permanent reminder of what happens when you come for a chosen one. Number 7. Your protection wasn't random. It's part of a cosmic emergency response system. Let's talk about something most people never get to understand in their lifetime. The fact that there's an entire system operating in the spiritual realms, specifically designed to protect individuals like you. Not everyone has access to this level of protection. Not everyone needs it. Most people move through life under standard spiritual covering, the kind that comes from prayer, positive energy, and decent intentions. But you, chosen one, you're not operating under standard coverage. You're under what I call cosmic emergency response protection. And the difference between the two is astronomical. Think of it like the difference between having a regular security system in your home and having a panic button that's directly connected to a private military force. Standard protection alerts the authorities and hopes they show up in time. Emergency response protection mobilizes an entire team the moment a threat is detected. And that team doesn't show up to assess the situation. They show up to eliminate the threat immediately and permanently. That's the level of protection you carry. And the person who tried to curse you had no idea they were triggering an emergency response system that doesn't negotiate and doesn't show mercy. The moment their malicious energy moved in your direction, alarms went off in realms they don't even know exist. Forces that have been assigned to you since before you took your first breath immediately went into action. And their action wasn't defensive, it was offensive. They didn't just block the attack, they traced it back to the source and initiated a complete dismantling protocol. Every weak point in that person's life, every vulnerability, every area where they were spiritually exposed, became a target. And the dismantling began, not out of revenge, but out of protocol. Because that's what happens when you violate the protection code of someone under cosmic emergency response coverage. The system doesn't debate, it doesn't issue warnings, it executes. What makes this even more powerful is that you don't have to activate this protection. You don't have to call on it or request it, it's automatic. It's always active. It's always monitoring, it's always ready. And it doesn't just protect you from spiritual attacks. It protects you from physical danger, from toxic people, from situations that would derail your purpose, from opportunities that look good but would actually destroy you. This protection thinks 10 steps ahead. It sees timelines that you can't see. It moves pieces on the chessboard that you don't even know are there. And all of this happens without you having to lift a finger, without you having to even be aware it's happening. The person who attacked you thought they were dealing with someone alone, unprotected, vulnerable. They thought they could just send some negative energy your way and watch you crumble. They had no idea they were essentially launching an attack on someone surrounded by an invisible army, monitored by cosmic intelligence. and backed by forces that have ended kingdoms and toppled empires when necessary. They thought they were cursing a person. They were actually declaring war on a protection system that has been perfected over eons. And wars like that only end one way, with complete and total defeat for whoever was foolish enough to start them. Number 8. They're experiencing what happens when someone becomes cosmically blacklisted. There's a term that doesn't get discussed often in spiritual circles because it's uncomfortable, because it sounds too final, too permanent, too severe, but it exists, and it's exactly what's happening to the person who attacked you. They've been cosmically blacklisted. Let me explain what that means. In the same way certain people can be blacklisted in industries, prevented from getting jobs or opportunities because they violated trust or broke agreements. There's a spiritual equivalent. When someone violates a sacred law, when they harm someone under the kind of protection you carry, their name, their energy signature gets flagged in the cosmic system. And once you're flagged, once you're on that list, every door that was available to you before suddenly becomes unavailable. This isn't about worthiness. This isn't about being good or bad. This is about having violated a protocol so fundamental that the universe has to restrict your access to prevent further damage. They're not being punished for being a bad person. They're being quarantined because they proved they can't be trusted with spiritual power, with access to higher realms, with the kinds of blessings and opportunities that require a certain level of spiritual integrity. And the heartbreaking part for them is that they can feel this restriction. They can sense that something has fundamentally shifted. Doors that used to open effortlessly now stay closed. People who used to offer help now ghost them. Opportunities that should materialize never show up. Dreams that felt within reach suddenly feel impossible. They'll try to push through it. They'll try to force things to happen. They'll hustle harder, work longer hours, make more connections, network aggressively, but nothing sticks. Nothing works. Because they're not just dealing with bad luck or poor timing, they're dealing with a cosmic restriction. They're trying to access blessings and opportunities from a system that has marked them as a violator. And systems like that don't make exceptions. They don't care about excuses or apologies. They care about the violation, and the violation is permanent in their records. The cosmic blacklist isn't something you can petition to be removed from. It's not something you can pray your way off of. It's a status that gets assigned based on actions, and it stays until the soul has been completely transformed through lifetimes of learning and growth. We're not talking about months or years. We're talking about soul contracts and karmic cycles that span multiple incarnations. Meanwhile, you're moving through life with every door opening at perfect timing. Opportunities find you. The right people show up when you need them. Resources appear from nowhere. Blessings flow into your life so naturally that you almost take it for granted. That's not luck. That's what happens when you're not just protected, but cosmically approved, spiritually endorsed and universally backed. While they're blacklisted and struggling to get access to even basic blessings, you're operating from a position of spiritual VIP status. And the contrast between your experiences is so stark that anyone paying attention can see it. They can see who's favored and who's forgotten. They can see who violated the law and who's walking under grace. Number 9, they carry a mark now that other spiritual practitioners can sense immediately. Here's something that will blow your mind. In the spiritual community, among people who actually practice real work, not the social media version, but the deep ancestral kind, passed down through generations, there's a phenomenon that everyone recognizes but rarely talks about openly. When someone has violated a sacred law, when they've cursed a chosen one and suffered the consequences, they carry a mark. Not a physical mark, but an energetic one. And anyone with true spiritual sight can see it instantly. It's like a scarlet letter in the invisible realms. It broadcasts to everyone with discernment. This person attacked someone they shouldn't have, and they're now living under consequence. Real practitioners can sense it the moment they're in that person's presence. They don't even need to be told the full story. The energy speaks for itself. And what happens next is telling. If the person who attacked you goes to a legitimate spiritual worker asking for help to remove a curse or cleanse their energy, and that worker has genuine spiritual sight, they'll immediately sense what really happened. They'll know this isn't a random curse from an enemy. This is cosmic justice executing itself. And any practitioner with actual wisdom will refuse to help. They'll decline the work, make up an excuse about being too busy, or redirect them elsewhere. Because working against cosmic justice, trying to reverse a consequence that was divinely authorized, is spiritual suicide. It's career ending for practitioners. It's a violation they're not willing to commit, no matter how much money is offered. So the person who attacked you is stuck in a loop. They can feel that something is wrong. They know they need spiritual help. But every real practitioner they approach either refuses outright or takes their money and performs rituals that do absolutely nothing, because they're not actually trying to reverse the consequence. They're just performing theater to collect payment. The person walks away thinking they've been cleansed, thinking the work is done, but nothing changes. The consequence continues. The weight remains. The mark stays visible to anyone with eyes to see, and the cycle repeats. They find another practitioner, pay more money, receive more rituals, and still nothing changes. Because you can't pay someone to violate universal law on your behalf. You can't outsource the removal of a cosmic concept. What makes this particularly isolating for them is that they can't talk about it openly. They can't tell people what they did. They can't explain that they performed witchcraft against someone and now they're suffering because of it. Who would they tell? Who would understand? Who would have sympathy for someone who tried to destroy another person's life and ended up destroying their own? So they suffer in silence, carrying a mark that advertises their violation to everyone with spiritual awareness, while pretending everything is fine to everyone else. They become spiritually homeless, unable to find legitimate help, unable to reverse what's been done, unable to escape the consequences of their own actions. And while they're trapped in that loop, isolated and marked, you're moving freely, openly, powerfully. You don't carry any marks of violation because you didn't violate anything. You carry marks of favor, protection, and purpose. And those marks attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right blessings. You walk into rooms and people with spiritual awareness sense your energy and treat you with respect, reverence, and sometimes awe. Because your mark says this person is protected. By forces you don't want to mess with, this person is favored, this person is chosen. And that mark opens doors for you that will forever remain closed to them. Number 10, their regret isn't about morality, it's about consequences, and that makes it even more permanent. Let's talk about the nature of their regret, because it reveals something important about why this consequence is permanent. If the person who attacked you felt genuine remorse for what they did, if they truly understood the moral weight of trying to destroy another human being through spiritual means, there might be a pathway to redemption, but that's not what's happening. Their regret isn't about understanding they were wrong. It's not about recognizing they violated your humanity, your peace, your life. Their regret is purely transactional. They regret the consequences they're experiencing. They regret that their life is falling apart. They regret that the curse bounced back, but they don't regret trying to hurt you. This distinction matters because true spiritual transformation requires true remorse. It requires looking at your actions and feeling genuine horror at what you attempted to do to another soul. It requires taking full accountability and spending the rest of your life trying to become a better person. Not because you want the consequences to stop, but because you genuinely understand you were wrong. The person who attacked you hasn't reached that level. They're still operating from the same consciousness that led them to curse you in the first place. The only difference is now they're scared. Now they're suffering. Now they want it to stop. But if the consequences miraculously disappeared tomorrow, if they could go back to their old life with no repercussions, they'd be the same person who cursed you. They might even do it again if they thought they could get away with it. The universe recognizes this. Cosmic intelligence can distinguish between genuine transformation and manipulative regret. And because their regret is conditional, because it's based on self-preservation rather than moral awakening, the consequence remains locked in place. The system knows that releasing them now would be pointless because they haven't actually changed. They've just become more desperate. And desperation doesn't equal evolution. Fear doesn't equal growth. Suffering doesn't equal transformation. They could suffer for decades and still not reach the level of consciousness required to truly understand what they did wrong. Because what they did wrong wasn't just the act of cursing you. What they did wrong was thinking they had the right to determine your fate, to interfere with your destiny, to play with spiritual forces they didn't understand for their own selfish purposes. And until they grasp that, until they have a genuine come-to-Jesus moment where they realize they violated not just you, but cosmic law itself, the consequence will continue. It will continue because consequences aren't punishments, they're teachers. And this particular lesson requires them to sit in the discomfort they created until they finally understand the magnitude of what they attempted to do. The problem is, most people never reach that level of understanding. They die still believing they were the victim, still believing they were justified, still believing that what happened to them was unfair. And when they transition to the next realm, the lesson continues there. Because spiritual law transcends physical life. It transcends death. It operates across timelines, dimensions, and incarnations. They might not learn this lesson in this lifetime. They might carry this consequence to their grave, still bitter, still confused, still believing the universe is punishing them unfairly. And then in the next life, they'll be born into circumstances designed to teach them what they refuse to learn in this one. The cycle continues until the lesson is learned, until the soul finally understands that some beings are protected for reasons beyond human comprehension, and trying to harm them doesn't just fail, it fundamentally alters your spiritual trajectory forever. That's the weight of what they're carrying, and that's why no amount of rituals, prayers, or desperate bargaining is going to lift it. The consequence is permanent until the transformation is genuine, and genuine transformation takes lifetimes. Number 11. While their life crumbles, yours is being elevated in ways that feel like magic, but are actually strategic spiritual upgrades. Let's shift focus to what's happening in your life, because while we've been talking about their consequences, your experience has been completely different. In fact, it's been the opposite. Ever since they attempted to curse you, ever since they sent that malicious energy your way and it bounced back onto them, you've been experiencing what feels like an unprecedented level of favor, timing, and synchronicity. Opportunities that seemed impossible before are now materializing effortlessly. Connections with the right people are happening at exactly the right time. Financial blessings are flowing in from unexpected sources. Your intuition is sharper than it's ever been. Your clarity is undeniable. Your energy feels lighter, stronger, more magnetic. And you might be wondering, is this all in my head? Did something actually shift? Let me tell you what's really happening. Listen in. Listen. When someone attacks a chosen one and the protection system responds, it doesn't just defend, it also reallocates. The energy that was sent toward you with malicious intent gets intercepted, purified, and converted into fuel for your ascension. The universe takes the very thing that was meant to destroy you and uses it to elevate you. That's cosmic alchemy. That's divine strategy. The person who attacked you essentially donated their power, their energy, their resources to your elevation, and they don't even realize it. Every curse they tried to place on you became a blessing waiting to be unlocked. Every obstacle they tried to create in your path was removed and replaced with a doorway. Every limitation they tried to impose on your life was lifted and replaced with expansion. This is why it feels like magic. This is why it feels like everything is suddenly clicking into place. Because it is. The protection systems surrounding you didn't just block their attack. It used that attack as a catalyst for your next level. And now you're operating from a position of power, clarity, and purpose that you've never experienced before. Doors are opening that you didn't even know existed. People are showing up in your life who align with your vision, who support your growth, who recognize your value without you having to explain yourself. Finances are stabilizing or increasing in ways that feel almost too good to be true. Health issues that were lingering are suddenly resolving. Relationships that were toxic are naturally falling away, making room for connections that actually serve you. None of this is random, none of this is luck. This is spiritual strategy in action. This is the universe responding to the violation against you by saying, not only will I protect this chosen one, but I will elevate them so high that everyone who tried to harm them will have to watch from below as they soar. And that's exactly what's happening. While they're drowning in consequences, you're rising into your full potential. While they're losing access to blessings, you're gaining access to realms of favor they never even knew existed. While they're spiritually blacklisted, you're spiritually endorsed at the highest levels. The contrast between your lives right now is so stark that it serves as a living testimony to anyone paying attention. This is what happens when you're chosen. This is what happens when you're protected. This is what happens when someone foolishly tries to curse what the universe has already blessed. Number 12, you don't need to gloat. Your life is the testimony, and they're forced to witness it. Here's something beautiful about cosmic justice. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to post about it on social media. You don't have to call them out or expose them publicly. You don't have to get revenge or rub their face in it. Your life does the talking for you. Your elevation is the loudest statement you could ever make. Your peace is the ultimate flex. Your glow is the undeniable proof that trying to dim your light only made it shine brighter. And the person who attacked you, they have front row seats to your success. They can't help but see it. They can't help but watch. They can't help but be confronted daily with the reality that their attack didn't just fail. It backfired spectacularly. Every time they hear your name, it's a reminder. Every time they see you succeeding, it's confirmation. Every time they notice your peace, your joy, your forward momentum, it's a mirror reflecting back to them the consequences of their actions. And that awareness eats at them constantly because they remember what they did. They remember the night they tried to curse you. They remember the energy they sent your way, the intentions they held, the outcome they hoped for. And now they're watching the exact opposite manifest. They're watching you thrive. They're watching you win. They're watching you glow. And there's nothing they can do about it except sit with the regret, the jealousy, the bitterness, and the painful realization that they made the worst decision of their life when they decided to come for you. You don't need to engage with them. You don't need to acknowledge their existence. You don't need to give them any attention whatsoever. In fact, your indifference is more powerful than any confrontation could ever be, because indifference communicates something very specific. It says, "You're so irrelevant to my life now that I don't even think about you. You're so beneath my current frequency that engaging with you would be a step backward. You're so outside my realm of concern that your consequences are none of my business." And that message, delivered through pure silence and continued elevation, cuts deeper than any words ever could. The beauty of this dynamic is that you get to live freely, fully, abundantly, while they're stuck in a prison of their own making, watching through the bars as you flourish. You get to move forward without the weight of what they tried to do to you because the universe handled it. You get to focus on your purpose, your growth, your blessings, while they're forced to focus on their consequences, their losses, their regret. You get to be the evidence that protection is real, that justice exists, that chosen ones are truly untouchable. And they get to be the cautionary tale, the example, the proof of what happens when you violate cosmic law by attacking someone you should have left alone. Your life is the testimony, and their life is the warning, and both serve the universe perfectly. Number 13, this isn't just about one person's curse. It's about establishing a precedent in the spiritual realms. What happened between you and the person who attacked you isn't just a personal story. It's a spiritual case study. It's a precedent being set in realms that most people can't see or access. Every time someone under your level of protection gets attacked and the consequence executes itself, it reinforces the law. It reminds every entity, every practitioner, every force in the spiritual realms that there are certain beings who absolutely cannot be touched. And when I say cannot be touched, I don't mean it's discouraged or inadvisable. I mean it's cosmically prohibited. It's written into the fabric of reality itself. And the person who attacked you just became Exhibit A in that ongoing education. Their story is being observed, not just by them, not just by you, but by forces in the unseen realms who monitor these situations. Every consequence they experience is being documented as evidence of what happens when the law is violated. Every struggle they face is being recorded as proof that the protection around chosen ones is not symbolic, not metaphorical, but absolutely literal and absolutely enforced. And this documentation serves a purpose. It prevents future violations. It makes other people think twice before sending malicious energy toward someone they sense is protected. It creates a spiritual deterrent effect, because now their suffering serves as a warning to anyone else who might be tempted to try the same thing. And trust me, people are watching. People in the spiritual community are aware. They sense what's happening even if they don't know all the details. They can feel the energetic shift, they recognize the pattern, and they're taking notes. What this means for you is that your protection is being reinforced not just for this lifetime, but for future situations. Every attack that fails, every curse that bounces back, every consequence that executes itself perfectly strengthens the seal around you. It builds your spiritual reputation in realms that matter. It establishes you as someone who is genuinely untouchable, not because you claim to be, but because the evidence proves it. And that reputation precedes you now. When you walk into rooms, when you interact with people, when you move through life, there's an energy around you that communicates this one is protected, this one is watched, this one is not to be touched. And people can feel that, even if they don't understand it. The person who attacked you played a role in establishing this precedent, and they didn't even know it. They thought they were cursing you. They were actually confirming your status. They thought they were harming you. They were actually testifying to your level of protection. They thought they were your enemy. They were actually your proof. And now their consequences serve as a permanent reminder to anyone watching that chosen ones are not to be played with, not to be tested, and definitely not to be cursed. Because the universe doesn't negotiate when it comes to protecting its vassals. It doesn't give warnings. It doesn't offer second chances. It simply executes the consequence and lets that consequence serve as education for everyone else. Your protection isn't just about you. It's about maintaining order in the spiritual realms. And their suffering isn't just about them. It's about maintaining that same order. Everything is connected. Everything serves a purpose. And everything that happened between you and them was designed to reinforce one fundamental truth. Some people are untouchable, and you are one of them. Number 14, they'll eventually understand that attacking you was the moment their fate was sealed. There will come a time, maybe years from now, maybe decades, maybe even in another lifetime, when the person who attacked you will have a moment of devastating clarity. They'll be sitting somewhere quiet, maybe alone, maybe exhausted, maybe completely broken down, and suddenly the full weight of what they did will hit them like a freight train. They'll realize with absolute certainty that attacking you was the pivotal moment when everything changed. That was the decision that sealed their fate. That was the action that determined the trajectory of their entire existence from that point forward. That was the moment they went from having a normal life with normal challenges to having a cursed existence with compounding consequences. And the realization will be crushing, because they'll understand, finally, that it didn't have to be this way. They'll see with painful clarity that they had a choice. They could have left you alone. They could have dealt with their jealousy, their insecurity, their hatred in a different way. They could have focused on their own life instead of trying to destroy yours. But they didn't. They made the decision to engage in spiritual warfare against someone who was cosmically protected, and that decision cost them everything. It cost them their peace. It cost them their blessings. It cost them their future. It cost them their lineage's prosperity. And for what? For a moment of satisfaction that never even came? For revenge that backfired? For hatred that consumed them more than it ever touched you? In that moment of clarity, they'll feel something most people never experience in their lifetime. They'll feel the full weight of irrevocable consequence. They'll understand that there are some decisions you can't take back, some actions you can't undo, some violations that are permanent. And attacking a chosen one is one of them. They'll want to apologize, but they'll know it won't matter. They'll want to make amends, but they'll know there's nothing they can offer that would reverse what they triggered. They'll want to go back in time and stop themselves, but time doesn't work that way. They'll want mercy, but they'll finally understand that they're not dealing with a person's mercy or a practitioner's mercy. They're dealing with universal law. And universal law doesn't offer mercy to violators. It offers consequences, and those consequences are permanent. While they're having that crushing realization, you'll be living fully in your purpose, probably not even thinking about them anymore. You'll have moved so far beyond that chapter of your life that they'll be a distant memory, a footnote in a story that's much bigger than them. You'll be thriving, creating, impacting, loving, succeeding, and glowing in ways you never imagined possible. And somewhere far away, they'll be sitting with the devastating knowledge that they could have been neutral to your success. They could have even celebrated it, but instead they chose to attack it. And that choice became the defining moment of their entire existence. Not because you cursed them, but because they cursed themselves by coming for someone the universe wasn't allowing anyone to touch. Their fate was sealed the moment they decided you were their enemy, and yours was secured the moment the protection around you responded to their violation. Everything that's been revealed in this message points to one powerful, undeniable truth. You are protected at a level that most people will never experience in their lifetime. You are guided by forces that have been assigned to you since before your first breath. You are covered by a spiritual authority that doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise, and doesn't fail. And the person who tried to curse you just learned the hardest lesson they'll ever learn. That attacking a chosen one isn't just ineffective, it's catastrophic. They didn't just fail to harm you. They permanently altered their own destiny in ways they'll spend lifetimes trying to comprehend. Their curse became their own cage. Their malicious intent became their ongoing torment. Their attempt to destroy you became the very thing that elevated you higher than you've ever been. And while they're living in the consequences of their violation, trapped in a cycle they can't escape, marked in ways they can't hide, and blocked from blessings they can't access, you're flourishing. You're rising. You're glowing. You're living proof that protection is real, that spiritual laws are absolute, and that chosen ones are truly untouchable. Their life is now a cautionary tale. Yours is a testimony, and both serve the universe perfectly. The curse they tried to place on you was never going to work. It couldn't work, because you don't just have protection. You are protected at a level that triggers automatic responses when violated. And that response isn't about revenge. It's about order. It's about maintaining the balance in the spiritual realms. It's about ensuring that those who are meant to fulfill significant purposes remain intact, unharmed, and elevated, regardless of who tries to interfere. You didn't ask for this level of covering. You inherited it. You were born with it. You've been walking under it your entire life, even when you didn't know it, and now you're watching it work in real time as someone's life falls apart for violating it. You don't need to feel guilty about their suffering. You don't need to feel responsible for their consequences. You didn't curse them. They cursed themselves. You didn't trigger the response. They did when they attacked you. Your only role in this entire situation was existing, being who you are and walking in your purpose. Everything else was handled by forces beyond both of you. So move forward knowing that you're covered, you're cleared, and you're untouchable. Walk in confidence knowing that every attack against you will fail. Speak with authority knowing that your voice carries weight in realms most people can't access. Live fully knowing that your purpose is protected by a system that has been perfected over eons. And if you ever doubt any of this, just look at what happened to the person who tried to curse you. Look at how their life unraveled. Look at how their energy shifted. Look at how their blessings stopped. Look at how their consequences compounded. And remember, that's not what happens when you curse a regular person. That's what happens when you violate cosmic law by attacking someone chosen, protected, and sealed. You are that someone, and the evidence of your protection is written all over their life. Let that be your confirmation. Let that be your peace. Let that be your reminder that you're untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're purposeful. And purpose protected by the universe is the most powerful force in existence. If this message resonated with your spirit, if you felt every word land in places that needed confirmation, don't keep this to yourself. This revelation was meant to find you, and it's meant to find others who need to know they're protected at levels they never imagined. Hit that subscribe button right now and become part of a community that doesn't just talk about spiritual protection. We walk in it, we live it, and we witness the evidence of it every single day. Tap that like button to signal to the algorithm that this message needs to reach more chosen ones who are questioning their protection, who are wondering if they're truly covered, who need to see the proof that attacking them comes with permanent consequences. Drop a comment below and share your experience. Have you noticed someone's life falling apart after they came against you? Have you watched in real time as someone who tried to curse you started experiencing unexplainable struggles? Your story isn't just your testimony, it's confirmation for someone else who's watching the same pattern unfold in their own life. And most importantly, share this video with someone who needs to understand the weight of their protection. Share it with the chosen one in your life who's been doubting their covering. Share it with someone who's been attacked and needs to know that consequences are already executing themselves without them having to do anything. You're not here by accident. Your protection isn't random. Your elevation isn't luck. And the person who tried to curse you is living proof that chosen ones are not to be touched. Stay connected, stay covered, and keep walking in the authority you were born with. More powerful revelations are coming your way. The universe isn't done showing you exactly who you are. Until next time, walk in your power, trust your protection, and know that you're absolutely untouchable. You're the chosen one, and anyone who forgot that just learned the hardest lesson of their life.